All right, we are live.
Okay.
This is Florida Table Talk, Florida. I am Brad Scott. I am a co-host with co-host Joe
Schramer.
Yep. We're creating this little podcast to inform ourselves and also try to inform Florida of what's going on politically with everything that's going on with Florida. Because I believe there is a lot of misinformation or no information. It is hard to gather the information.
It's mostly no information.
Yeah. I mean, how do you find this information? So me and Joe are going to try to deep dive into some of the stuff to pull out and talk about and bring it to information so people can digest it.
Yep.
So Joe, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm pretty much a moderate as far as political views go. I believe that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. I'm very much pro Second Amendment. As a military veteran, I'm sure you can imagine that. Other than that, I'm a pretty easygoing guy.
Okay.
I don't align with any particular political party.
Okay.
I tend to lean more to the conservative side. And when the Libertarians came out, I thought that was going to be the answer for me because, I was kind of a Ross Perot guy back in the day.
Yeah.
And when the Libertarians decided to go a little cuckoo, that's when I backed off from that idea.
Okay, so I can see you as a regular American that really don't know what side to be on politically. I think that's majority of America.
Yeah.
Myself, I don't really consider myself a Republican or a conservative. I like to think of myself as more of a constitutionalist. I do not like big government. I believe we should have more freedoms than what the government imposes on us, almost like a libertarian. The only thing is I'm not as crazy as some of the libertarians that are out there. And I think that's why a lot of people don't want to consider themselves libertarians.
They kind of went off the deep end. They started with a really good idea, and then it just went way too far to the right, I think.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Now, as far as some of the things I support, like I say, I'm more of a constitutionalist, so I am definitely in favor of the Second Amendment. I'm also in favor of, I'm similar to you with abortion. I believe it should be safe, rare, and there should be exceptions to allow for abortions.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that there should be unlimited, unregulated abortions.
I think that as far as the abortion thing goes, we really have to change the moral view on it in the country. Because it shouldn't be a contraceptive.
Absolutely.
It should be something that people are really... You wouldn't want to throw a party about, hey, I got my abortion. You know what I mean? And people actually are doing that right now.
Absolutely.
It's disgusting.
It is. and me and you are both seeing it from the side of the male perspective.
True.
Because we're not women. Nor do I ever claim I was a woman. But as far as that goes, it's difficult for men to say, hey, we don't really have a choice in the matter because it's not our bodies. But I believe there is a morality to it, and I am all about morals. I think our country has lost a lot of its morality and its direction in life, because abortion shouldn't be used as a contraceptive.
Right.
It should be like, extenuating certain circumstances like incest, rape, even if there's a possibility of death for the mother. Those situations should be allowed.
Right.
But as far as letting it gestate to 9 months and then getting an abortion, when it gets to that point, you could have a birth and give it for adoption.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way I view. Now, some of the stuff I view in the Second Amendment stuff is it shall not be infringed. And we've had a lot of infringements. There's a YouTuber I've been following for quite a while, CRS Firearms. He was arrested and charged and convicted with soliciting, I think, a machine gun off of a printed card. That's what happened, and he's now in prison. And the card had an etching of a Swift Link, I believe that's what they were called.
Mm-hmm.
That you'd drop into an AR-15 and make it a machine gun. The thing is, it was just an image. You had to carve it out. You had to do all this stuff. You can technically find the measurements for those images online,
right,
and cut it out yourself. You didn't need to buy this card that had the image printed on it. And from my perspective, that almost goes against the First Amendment, because if you create an image and you solicit that image, that's your freedom of speech. It's not really a Second Amendment issue. It's more of a First Amendment issue, I believe.
I tend to agree with you on that one. You know, our government and the prosecutors, as far as the Second Amendment is concerned, especially the ATF, are just off the flippant deep end. You know, my view is the Second Amendment was created because that's the last of the checks and balances. If our government goes nuts, then the people raise up arms and take it out.
I agree that's the way it was originally intended. Nowadays, to be honest with you, how do we go up against F-16s?
Well, we're not going to.
Right. And that's one of the things that I also wanted to talk about today. If our government did go extreme and started to oppress people tyrannically, how do we stop that? I don't think it's so much us. I think it's our elected leaders that we elect locally, like Ron DeSantis, or even mayors and individuals like that. We could petition them to go to Congress or go to different individuals and say, hey, look, we have to stop this.
Well, it starts on the county level.
Absolutely.
Even the city level, for that matter. But I think that you have a little bit more clout rather than talking to your city district representative. I think you're better off talking to your county commissioner for your particular district. Mine is District 5, I believe. No, it's 6. District 6. And he's a Democrat, but I have no idea what his other views are. I mean, then again, Democrats are the type that if you don't agree with them, you're out. So I'm guessing he is completely party line.
You're right. And that's another thing that we're going to kind of talk about, because I don't want to just go party line this, party line that. I want to try to figure out what these individuals truly want. Are they extreme far left and want to be more authoritarian, or are they more of trying to give us our freedoms and help those who are in need? Because I honestly believe that we should try to help those with need, but I think it should be more of a community-based need instead of a federally based program to provide care or help. There's a good example that we've seen recently in history with North Carolina and Tennessee. FEMA was unable to help them out as much as the communities and YouTube communities and just people donating to churches to try to send goods and needs to them.
You do know why, don't you?
I do know why. Tell us about that.
FEMA gave all their money to house illegal aliens.
That's what was said, and we've heard that online. Now, that's one of the things. I want to be careful that we don't go into this whole conspiracy theory, but I do believe there's a lot of people out there like us who have seen those videos online and have been talking about that. And that's one of the things that we're going to try to come across and expose if we can.
I mean, if I can research it and find out that it's true, then we'll definitely expose it.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the things I also wanted to come up with, like I was talking about with CRS Firearms. I believe he was tried here in Florida, which is kind of shocking because Florida is like supposed to be extreme Second Amendment sanctuary kind of thing.
CATF.
Yeah. And that's it. It's federal.
It's not Florida. It's the ATF.
Yep. But that's the thing is, like, with federal Yeah, it's true. Federal court systems, it's all federal. The judges are appointed by presidents and attorney generals.
Just like a lot of these three-letter bureaus, they've been making their own rules and doing their own thing and even making their own laws. And I think, honestly, I feel like with what Trump is doing and the cabinet makes the choices that he's made, if they get approved, that's going to stop.
Oh, yeah.
The Supreme Court already ruled on the EPA. Or was it the EPA?
Yeah, it was EPA Chevron deference.
That's right.
In the Supreme Court, the justices have been, I believe, hitting the ball out of the park for individuals like us that are more constitutionalists.
Right.
Because I feel like our government has gone very authoritarian on a lot of things. But at the same time, I do believe in the rule of law. You know, we have to have laws. We have to have them prosecuted correctly. And I've been listening to the Lincoln Riley case on her murder and the things that our government has been allowing to happen with these illegal immigrants coming into our country, not knowing that that was her murderer, but strongly suggest that's who killed her.
Right.
And there's a lot of situations like that happening, like the Venezuela gangs taking over apartment complex.
And that's not in just one city. That's happening all over the country.
That's right. It's, you know, nowhere is really truly safe from this that's happened.
Right.
The number of people that have come across the border now, I do not want to take the illegal immigrants away that are trying to be Americans and contribute.
Here's my view on it, and I agree with Holman completely on this because I've watched his videos when he's talking to Congress.
Mm-hmm.
There's a legal way to get into the country.
There is.
If you come across that border illegally,
mm-hmm.
you have committed a crime.
That's true.
So, first offense, you get sent out and you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can come back.
Mm-hmm.
Second offense is a felony.
Yeah. And that's it, you know, and they're giving every illegal migrant
they're giving them EBT cards, they're giving them health care, they're giving them housing.
Hell, it almost makes me wish I could go across the border and come back illegally and get the same
go up on Colonial Drive and give that to the homeless.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest crises that our country is facing, is the homelessness and all these other crises
right.
that we're facing.
The homeless in Orlando, they've got to go to the rescue mission or the Salvation Army. Where's the government help?
You're right. But that also goes to where I'm also believing it should be community-based, and the homeless are using the community-based systems to help them, but our government shouldn't be helping out illegal citizens, or not even citizens. Why am I even saying that? I've been programmed to say that. And so these individuals, you know, they if they're looking for help, yeah, we're here to help them, but do it legally.
Right.
You know, you have so many people that are trying to do things legally, and they've been here for years, and they're trying to become citizens, but there's so much to go through. And what makes it even harder is when there's so many illegal immigrants that are coming over, and they're put in front of the line in front of these individuals.
That's the other thing, is the immigration courts are just flooded with these. And of these people that are supposedly seeking asylum, like 87% of them don't qualify when they finally get to court.
Well, and not only that,
it's just a backlog in the court system that doesn't need to be there.
Right. Not only that, the court system is so backlogged that they're even dismissing the arraignments for a later date, or even not even setting up another date for them to go to court.
Right.
So if there's no date for them to go to court, they don't have to go to court. They can be here as long as they want and continue to get those benefits as long as we allow them to have those benefits.
Right. And as far as the Democrats or the left always love to talk about the separation of children and families. If you commit a crime, okay, anyone, a citizen, an alien, anybody that commits a crime and gets arrested, they're not going to take your kids to jail with you. No. You're going to be separated from your kids.
Yeah, Joe was talking about the whole batter that person that Trump's trying to nominate with Pullman with AOC in Congress.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen it, try to look that video up.
Yeah, that's the video I'm referencing.
And that is a great video.
He tore her apart.
He did. And, that's the thing, is we need to put people in these situations who know the law.
Right.
And
they're willing to stand up for the law.
And that's the thing, is like, that's another thing I've been seeing all over social media. It's a lot about feelings. Mm-hmm. The law doesn't care about feelings. The law wants facts. And we're trying to get facts. Now, we do have a lot of feelings into this, but every American has feelings.
True.
But I've got friends and family that feel that they're going to be attacked by the Republican regime that's going to be coming into office.
I'm actually excited about what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I was a Ross Perot supporter, and I think that this Trump administration is going to work out better for the American people than I had even imagined, based on what he has said his plan is at this point, and what he's doing is. I mean, everybody's going up in arms about Gates.
Mm-hmm.
I love that pick.
Oh, yeah. I've been a fan of Gates since he started talking, and him and Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Gates is a Floridian, and he's if he gets there, that's great. And Ron DeSantis has got a big shoe to fill. He's got to find somebody who's got to fill for that position.
Well, as AG, he's going to definitely he'll continue the work that he's been doing in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he's a bulldog.
He is very much a bulldog. And also, Trump going for Marco Rubio. That's another spot DeSantis has got to fill.
Right. That one, people aren't really up in arms about. Everybody's like, okay, Marco Rubio, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his with the whole red flag laws, but I understand with his district and his constituents, he has to toe this line to try to get reelected. Now that also makes it hard for me to put full faith into an individual like that. But also he's stepped up, and I think he's fully embracing the movement that's happening. And a lot of Americans are very hopeful.
The big movement right now is kill the deep state, break up this monopoly that certain entrenched individuals have that are bought out by corporations and not working at all in the interest of the American people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, you look at what the government has been spending their money on, like giving cocaine to birds to find out what their reproductive abilities are. I believe that was one of them. But
I hadn't heard about that one.
Yeah, it's crazy. They give these drugs to these animals, and it makes me wonder, are they actually giving them to the animals, or are they using it for themselves and saying, we gave it to the animals and we're taking this money as well?
Well, we put some on the bird feeder.
Yeah. So there they go. But it's crazy that our government's doing this.
Yeah.
And it's needless spending, and not only that, but the military's the same way.
I was just going to say the defense budget. Oh my God!
And that's another thing, with everything that's going on with Europe and Ukraine. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I don't think America needs to even be a part of NATO. I think if we were to step out of NATO, let Europe do their own NATO thing, that right there will, I think, cool down the potential for World War III.
Well, I don't think that we're going to be stepping out of NATO, but I do believe that Trump's going to have us take a couple of steps back.
Yes.
And the other thing he's throwing out there is to have them pay for our protection. I'm not sure that I like that idea. I'm not sure that I'm 100% on board with that one, but I like the idea of backing off. Same with the United Nations. Let's take a step back.
Absolutely. and
let's take care of us.
Yeah, that's it. That's one of the reasons why I want to get out of NATO, because the only reason why we got into NATO was the whole, I honestly believe it was more of like, ooh, we can make all these tanks and planes and ships and sell them to England,
right,
to fight Germany in World War II.
Yeah.
And then
selling F-16s to everybody.
Yeah, then we had to wipe put the smackdown on Japan when they touched our boats in Pearl Harbor. So we had to show them we have the power of the sun.
We did. I'm not sure. I mean, that's all right. That's a whole can of worms I don't really want to open right now.
I understand. And that's one of the things. Maybe
that'll be a future podcast to talk about.
That is true. We got a lot of stuff we could talk about, as you can hear us talking about things.
I mean, CRT, DEI, the fact that Japan tried to surrender before we dropped the bomb.
Right. There is a lot of stuff like that. And also, you look at, going into the Middle East and having a 20-year war for what? Weapons of mass destruction, supposedly?
It never existed.
That never existed.
Rumsfeld not going to jail. Cheney not going to jail. These people haven't even been investigated, but yet we're going to make up things to go after Trump over.
Exactly. What about the Epstein list?
Oh yeah. Where'd that go?
Yeah. It's hidden somewhere in the deep state.
They want us to focus on Diddy now. Forget about that.
Absolutely.
Because there's somebody in Congress that's on that list.
Absolutely. And we also
have you ever seen the list of crimes that people that are in our House and Senate are guilty of?
I have not. That would be interesting to pull that up.
There was a video going around maybe a couple of years ago where a guy was listing. It was a comedian, and he read off a list of a whole bunch of things that were felonies, DUIs and armed robbery and all this other stuff. And he said, "Now, which NFL team do you think this is?" And the answer was the U.S. Congress.
Wow. But at the same time, you do look at all the stuff that even Gates had been accused of. And there's a big thing going on. The reason why he resigned from Congress is to hide from that. But the thing is, that investigation has been going
Democrats pandering. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah. I agree. And also, you look at how long that investigation has been going on for. Mm-hmm. No investigation I know of has ever gone that long for any kind of case.
Right. So the ethics committee coming into session just before he resigned has no bearing on it at all because they weren't going to say anything anyway.
No, they're using it to say, "Oh, that's why he did this," and this is how horrible these individuals are. Right. And that's one of the things we want to bring those things to light. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about this state attorney general.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned to you when we were talking about before we started recording, about a year and a half ago or so, this Worrell woman was removed from office by DeSantis because he felt that she wasn't getting a good conviction rate.
Yes.
You remember that?
I do remember that.
Okay. So she ran again against the guy that took her place that was appointed by the governor, who's an independent, by the way. And she won. Like 57% of the vote.
Well, that's one of the things is like if she continues to do that, DeSantis could still pull her out again.
But the thing is, the people have spoken. This is what the people want.
This is what the people want. You're right. Maybe they should just let them have what they want. Lawlessness.
I mean, it is Orlando.
Yeah. That is true.
We don't enforce traffic laws.
Come to Orlando where it's like the new Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But yeah, you're right. The people have spoken, and they're probably going to get what they want. Now, that's the thing is...
Well, she's definitely going to go back into office, depending on... The question is, how long is she going to be in office?
That is true. And that's another thing, too, is thinking about that is like, our judicial system is full of individuals that are going after people like that.
Why are we weaponizing the judicial system to go after political opponents?
That's my biggest fear, and I think that's what a lot of people fear. And that right there, that shouldn't even be happening. Our judicial system should be going after criminals, not political opponents.
I mean, if somebody does something like that, yes, go after them. Cheney, Rumsfeld, Bush.
You even look at Fauci with COVID.
Yeah.
Now,
he should be under investigation too.
Right. And that's the thing is like nobody knows what the actual effectiveness, words difficult for me at the moment, effectiveness of the vaccines.
Right. Well, I don't want to come across as an anti-vaxxer because I'm really not.
No.
But they did a study on one vaccine. I think it was a hepatitis B vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And the study was based on autism to find out if there was any correlation there.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was like a 110% greater chance of the child having autism after having an Hep B vaccine.
Wow. See, and that's one of the things is like,
don't take my word on this completely. Look it up for yourself.
Yeah.
And I got it from Robert Kennedy.
Yeah, and see, that's one of the things me and Joe are talking about. We're going to bring up all this information. Now, we don't want you to just dismiss it. We want you to look it up for yourselves.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about CRS Firearms. He still has a YouTube channel. His wife is actually narrating a lot of the channel because he's in prison. He's behind bars. So what she'll do is she'll write him, he'll write her, and they'll discuss things that's going on in prison, things that they could...
Is the business still open?
The business CRS Firearms?
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't think so because he doesn't have his... They
took his license.
Yeah, you can't have a license and be a convicted felon.
She could have a license.
She could, but she doesn't. Their sole... where they truly get all their money is from supporters who go to Tactical Fans Only and buy merch that they provide.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's other companies around here too, like Red Dot Firearms is over in Brevard County.
Yeah. Well, in Lakeland, they got Blackout Coffee.
Yeah.
And then also there's in Palm City, there's a Firecracker Farms.
Mm-hmm.
They make hot salt, and it's like spicy salt. So you don't need to put salt and pepper on your stuff. And you want something to kick it up more than just pepper, you got hot salt. Now, we're not sponsored by any of these individuals. We're just wanting to talk about companies that are locally based because
salt with ghost peppers in it.
Yes, it's true. It's got ghost peppers, scorpion pepper, and the Carolina Reaper in there, Three Kings salt. Yeah, but it's actually not too spicy. If you ever had it, it's spicy. It's got a kick.
It sounds spicy.
It sounds spicy, but it's a salt. Yeah. So it's tamed down a little bit, but it definitely tastes great.
I'm guessing it's a finishing salt.
It is a finishing salt.
Yeah.
When you purchase it from them, it comes in a little steel plunger. I'll be right back. I'm going to get the plunger, and I'll show you guys with the camera that we have.
Okay, cool.
Joe, keep talking.
Okay.
Is there any other companies here in Florida that you would like to give shout-outs to?
The only one that's coming to my mind right now is those guys that you can go drive a tank.
Oh, what is it, Tank America or something like that?
Yeah, they used to be down in Melbourne, but they've moved.
Yeah. Ooh, spicy. Oh, it's got a kick.
I like it.
Yeah, this is the Apocalypto.
It doesn't come out right away. It's back in your throat later on.
Yeah, this is the Apocalypto. As you can see, the little skull on the push grinder.
Wow.
It's got...
This one's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's got... what is it? The Three Kings salt. So it's got the scorpion pepper, the Carolina Reaper, the ghost
eyes are watering.
Ghost pepper, yeah. It's got that, and it's also, I believe, got coca and tequila.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's got all kinds of stuff. It's got a great flavor. That's my favorite.
What's the name of the company?
Firecracker Farms.
Where are they out of?
Palm City.
Palm City. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, what should we be talking about next week when we do this?
Well, I think we could do a little bit deeper dive into the cabinet.
The cabinet?
Yeah.
Also, maybe that attorney that you were talking about, what's her name?
Worrell?
Worrell?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to pull some information up, and we can maybe talk a little bit about Worrell.
Okay.
And this is a show that we're going to try to do weekly.
The guy that she beat is named Bain.
Bain.
That's the one, the independent that the governor had put in place.
He sounds like a Batman villain.
Doesn't he, though?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I want a villain as far as a judge, but hey, if he puts the criminals away.
Right.
And that's another thing that, as far as my stance is, like I say, I'm very much a constitutionalist. So if I believe that somebody has an inkling or a doubt that they didn't do something, they should be out. You know?
Yes, guilty people need to be punished.
Right. But we have to make sure that they are guilty, because I don't want to send anyone to prison.
That's the other thing. The way that the judicial system is currently set up, the public defenders, do they just want to settle everything? They don't want to.
Right. Not only is it the public defenders, but it's also the prosecutors. The prosecutors, I believe, are, they're not going after like the top-notch, like if it's murder, they're not going after murder. They're probably going to go after manslaughter. And
no, they'll go after murder, and then they'll settle it down to manslaughter.
They'll settle it down to manslaughter. Yeah. So that way they don't have to complete the court case.
Right.
Because
they're back to the backlog.
Yep. Not only the backlog, but they want to win.
Yeah.
No prosecutor wants to have an L in the roster. They want to have all
the governor comes and pulls you out.
That's right.
You're not getting enough conviction.
That's it. But how do you feel about individuals who committed a crime, get released on a signature bail, commit another crime, and get released back on another signature bail?
No.
That's the way I feel.
No, if you commit a crime when you're out on bail, no.
That your bail is gone. You're going to be in jail until you go to trial.
Yeah. No. I think that any judge worth their salt would agree with me.
I believe so too. But there's a lot of people that get let out again. There's a lot of examples that have happened. Now, maybe not here in Florida, but in, I don't remember where, there was a retired police chief that was watching out for a pawn shop that was robbed or vandalized with the not so peaceful protests that were going on, and was shot and killed. And I believe the individual the individual that supposedly shot and killed him, we don't know, because we don't know if he has been tried and convicted of it.
Right. But
the individual supposedly that had done the crime has been released on multiple
bails?
Multiple bails with, sorry, I have a burp. That's salt. But has been released on multiple bails for robbery cases. That's a violent crime.
And he's committing another robbery at the time.
Yes. That's the thing.
Now it's a murder.
Now it's a murder. But the thing is, he hasn't, we don't know if he's been convicted on those or if he settled as down, to a lesser charge. We have to do our research on that, but at the same time, when you hear about things like that going on,
the other thing that we could talk about in the next, and if anybody wants to talk in the comments, give us suggestions on what we should talk about next week, that'd be cool too. But this shadow government issue.
Oh yes. Now, I was listening to a lot of podcasters and YouTubers talking about that.
Did you listen to Tim Pool?
I listened a little bit about Tim Pool on that one. I hadn't listened to the full video. But I did listen to a couple of other YouTubers about it. They're wanting to implement a secondary form of government for these cabinet members. Now,
and there's the governors too.
The governors as well.
Yeah.
And the thing is that now, if you do that almost segregates our country with the states.
Okay, so here, let me give you a scenario. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that Donald Trump does what he's planning to do as far as illegal immigration. He starts doing mass deportations. Okay. Governor Newsom says you're not doing that in California. Of course, Donald Trump says, well, you're not going to stop me, so here's the Insurrection Act. I'm going to take over your National Guard, and they will enforce it under federal law. Okay, so now the governor has to fire back. This is Newsom. He's not that smart.
Right.
He's going to fire back, and now you've got a power play. You know, it's similar to Texas and Biden with the border, but this will be far more serious.
Well, not only that, but that's here in the States. Let's look at Ukraine. Who is Ukraine going to align themselves with as far as an advisor with the American Council? Is it going to be somebody that was Trump appointed, or this shadow campaign, or the shadow council? That could be very, very scary, and it scares the hell out of me.
Well, for those of you that think this shadow government is not going to have any power, they're just puppets. I mean, it's like this, all right? The speed limit says 30. You do 35, you do 40, you don't get caught, you're okay, right?
Yeah.
So same thing with the shadow government. Mm-hmm. Yes, the law says that it's treason, but if it's allowed to continue, then all of a sudden it's...
Then we have a form of parliament like Europe, because I believe Europe has a shadow cabinet as well that's actually elected or pushed into what they have.
Right.
And that's why I think a lot of people, because I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how Europeans may not understand anything about the whole shadow cabinet thing. Mm-hmm. But that is something that we don't do here in the U.S. And there's reasons why we don't do it, because we have states.
Yes.
And if a state decides to go with their shadow elected campaign member instead of the presidential campaign member, now we got states in conflict.
Right.
And
when the Democrats warned us that if they lost this election, that democracy itself would be in danger, I didn't realize they were talking about themselves.
A lot of times, some people, when they talk about something and they're accusing someone of doing something, they may be the ones doing it.
They've done a lot of the things that they're accusing other people of doing.
Well, look at Biden with quid pro quo.
Yeah.
He even says it in a video.
Yeah.
And to a lot of individuals who are listening out there who were that were Democrats that are now leaning more Republican or more centrist,
or just not sure what to do.
Not what to do.
Now independent.
Look up these things for yourselves.
Yep.
Please do this and be open-minded. Me and Joe, we're open-minded to a lot of things. Now, I'm going to recant anything that I know of that I said wrong. I know Joe is too, because we want to keep this these videos that we make.
Integrity is very important to both of us in this.
Yes, we want to be talking the truth. We don't want to be blowing smoke up people's behinds. I think the American people are tired of having that.
Yeah. And anything that I have mentioned during this particular podcast, I've gotten from multiple sources.
Absolutely.
Not just one.
And that also, that's another thing why we're doing this, is because the way people consume media anymore, the conventional way with CNN.
Joe Rogan changed media completely.
Not just Joe Rogan, it was also Trump. He was the one that says, all right, I'm going to start talking to podcasters. I'm going to go on to these shows.
Yeah.
And people listen to those shows more than they listen to CNN, MSNBC.
But if Joe Rogan hadn't started it.
Right. But Joe Rogan started it a long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah.
And a lot of people have. Look at Tim Pool.
Yeah.
With Timcast IRL.
Yeah, he was a staunch Democrat.
Oh, yeah. I honestly believe a lot of people, when they start researching things, they look into things, they realize they don't want these things.
Right.
And I don't want to categorize anybody as a Republican or a Democrat or liberal or conservative.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody has their own independent views. We're Americans.
Mm-hmm.
All we want, I think the majority of Americans want to be successful, that pursuit of happiness, and kind of want to be left alone. Now, as far as a lot of my Democratic friends who really want to be considered liberals or Democrats, a lot of them, they don't want authoritarianism or any of that other stuff.
They don't want Marxism.
They don't want Marxism. What they truly want is they want to have things like roads that are fixed and roads that are drivable.
We all agree on that.
We all agree on that. I want that too. I don't want to have my car messed up from potholes.
I was reading through the notes from the November 19th upcoming county commissioners meeting.
Mm-hmm.
There's there's millions of dollars that they're pouring into roads in the county.
Well, and that's kind of like our new mafia. I look at it.
Yeah.
The mafia where you have one guy just holding up a shovel and he's making a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at county roads, it seems like there's 8 people holding up a shovel and one poor bastard digging the hole.
Well, at least they're spending the money.
They are spending the money, and it is going to Americans. That's where I have the biggest problem with our government. Like we were saying, with them spending for this research, for all this other stuff, that really is not going to help any Americans. And if it does, please post it. And put it in a comment. I want to read how this helps Americans.
Feeding birds cocaine.
Right. And the spending in these foreign countries to support war, one of the biggest things that Trump said that I don't know any person that would disagree with, he just wants to stop the dying. He wants to stop the killing.
The United States, for whatever reason, over the last, as far as I have been alive at least, has this belief that we need to install democratic governments all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Rein it back. Let's come back to the United States.
Well,
and fix our shit.
Right. My belief on that isn't that we should never impose any kind of will on any government. Right. We need to live by example. Lead by example.
Show them that it works.
Show them that it works. We don't need kings or queens leading us and telling us how to live.
Right.
That's our founding of our country.
Right.
And we've shown the world they don't need kings and queens. That's why they don't lead any governments anymore.
Right.
They're by elected officials.
I mean, most of the time when we go in there in like the Iraq War, for example, we took out the government, we took out all of the supporters for that government, and we just opened the door for insurrection.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is we opened the doors for these insurrections, like Gaddafi.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing a lot of things there in Africa or Libya. Was it Libya?
It was Libya.
But that's the Horn of Africa, isn't it? Or it's near the border of Africa. Geography is not my greatest subject.
I wouldn't call it Horn, but yeah.
Yeah. And he, that area was rich in oil and minerals and all this stuff. Right. And I believe he was building the country up to be powerful and peaceful. And then I believe our government went in and destabilized it, made him out as this huge dictator and took him out.
We have a history of this. Look at Panama in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one of the things that I've kind of been passionate about, and goes back to a little bit of my background. I really didn't talk about my history and my life, but I used to move drilling rigs in New Mexico in the natural gas fields. In 2007, they stopped renewing a lot of the leases, so I was out of the job, and I had had opportunities elsewhere. I wound up here in Florida, and that's the thing is I think a lot of young Americans are looking forward to having these jobs that pay well. I was making really good money when I was working in the oil field, and I think that's the thing is everybody's looking for a bright future with all these opportunities.
That's another thing we could do an entire podcast on that.
Absolutely.
When my dad was working, he had a job. He made, I believe it was somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 a year. Because he was a very quiet man about that kind of thing. He didn't talk about finances with the kids and the family. I'm sure he did with his wife, but they were very private about the money. I knew that if we needed things, they got purchased. That's all I knew.
Yeah, he worked. Provider.
He worked. Mom stayed home until we were old enough that we didn't need her in the house all the time anymore. And then she went back to part-time teaching. But my thing is, we need to get back to a situation in America where one parent's salary is enough to support a household.
I think every American would love to have that. I think the government doesn't want that because they want us to be good little tax makers to create this income for the government to spend. And
if you've got two people in the household that are making $55,000 to $60,000 a year, okay? If you then have only one person making $120,000 a year, the government's making more in tax on that $120,000 than they would be two people making $60,000.
That's true. Yeah, that's the way it is. But also, thinking of it, what's happened in the last couple of years is our government has been spending more than they've been collecting in taxes, which is crazy.
The national debt goes up $100,000 a second.
Yeah, that. Well, I don't know anybody that can pay that back except for not even Elon Musk can touch that.
$100,000 every second.
Wow. And that's some of the things we're talking about. This is some of the stuff we want to bring out the light. We need to rein our government spending. We need to talk about that. And I honestly believe we have the best candidate as president to help fix some of that with his tariffs. And
that's going to hurt.
It is going to hurt. A lot of people think that that's going to be easy and cheap and free. No, it's going to hurt.
It's going to be great in the long run, but while it's building up to where it needs to be, it's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt, but you know what? I'm
willing to pay it.
Well, not only that, I think Americans are willing to roll up their sleeves and go to work.
Yeah.
And work for it.
Yep.
That's all I think all Americans have ever wanted.
Bring those Chinese manufacturers over here. We'll work.
Absolutely. And a lot of people are saying with the whole immigration thing, well, who's going to pick the farms? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? That's one of the things that kind of irritates me because, yes, they may be willing to work for a lower wage, but it's not a living wage.
That's the thing. Yeah, you're right. The American people probably aren't going to want to go out there and work for pennies. Is the price of broccoli going to go up? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I'm much rather I'll pay more for broccoli if the person that's picking the broccoli or doing that is getting a livable wage.
If it makes sense. $7.50 for a pound of butter is a little bit crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. And that's the thing is a lot of Americans are struggling with all this. And we're going to continue struggling it, but I think Americans are willing to struggle with it if they see a future.
Yeah.
With the way things were going the other way, there was no future. There was going to be authoritarianism, I honestly believe, to force things.
Right.
Whereas this other way that we're going, it's going to be hard, but I think Americans are willing to struggle
And there's a lot more we can talk about in the immigration thing. I think for this week it's time to wrap it up.
I think so too. We have a tendency to ramble on. So next week, what do you want to focus on?
Let's hope for some comments in the chat.
That's a good idea. Also, we could probably do some research on that judge that was elected.
We could do that. The Attorney General.
The Attorney General. That's it.
Yep.
All right, guys. That's it from Brad and Joe.
Yep.
Leave a like, comment, share. That's all we ask.
Yep.
All right. That's it.